Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's CJ. Welcome back, episode 20 of the Be Easy Reef. That's right, guys. We are 20 episodes in already. So if you're new to the channel or just stumbled across this video, YouTube recommendations, or however you got here, keep in mind that this is a full build playlist. We have covered everything from the unboxing of the tank, installing, aquascaping, cycling, quarantining, everything that you would have covered or want to know over the first 5 months of your reef tank has been discussed in this series, and we're going to continue to kind of build on that with this episode. And we're going to focus mainly on supplementation, dosing, and at least my master plan, so to speak, on how I'm really going to accomplish that in this tank. Now, I know some of you guys may be wondering, why am I even considering dosing a tank this young? It's been running around 5 months at this point, and ultimately, guys, it came down to testing of the tank. I realized I was getting around zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.5 DKH drop per day in the system. Even though I'm doing weekly water changes, it's still kind of getting to the point to where I'm really going to need to start supplementing on the tank. And also, I just want to try to make this as simple and as easy as possible when it comes to keeping stable parameters and keeping up with all the consumption on the system. So we're going to basically do this two ways. The first one is going to be those weekly water changes, and the second is going to be a method that I used years ago on the JBJ45, which is going to be Kalkwasser. So years ago, I used this in the auto top off. This time, we're going to try to manage it and have more control over it using a doser. So a 5-gallon reservoir, and we're also going to set up the Simply Aquatics 4-head dosing pump, which I know a lot of you guys may be curious about as well. So we're going to do both of those in this video. I'm going to kind of share you guys, my methods, or at least my plan with it, right? Now, I will admit to you guys, this is my first time ever using this style of dosing pump, if you want to call it that. My experience goes as far as the Comore Pristolic pumps, the continuous duty kind of pumps that I use on my calcium reactor. But as far as a doser that comes on and then turns off, this is my first time. So, it was a learning curve, making sure that I had all my hosing cut to the amount that I was going to actually use in the tank, and then purging and, priming the lines, and then finally going through and calibrating the dosing pump. So honestly, this is the most time consuming, I guess, most difficult part of using this pump that I found out. And after this, everything is pretty easy. This thing's been running for over 2 months on the system and really hasn't missed a beat. And you can see the blue light come on when the pump's running. It's mounted on the wall, so I can easily hear it and see it on the hour, every hour, whenever it runs. So it's not a real fancy unit. It's not flashy. It doesn't have a bunch of Wi-Fi controllable things. It doesn't have a phone app or any of that. It's more of a, it's on the wall. It has buttons on it. You set it, you forget it, and then just let your tank just kind of get dosed and do its thing. So for those who are curious about the Simply Aquatics dosing unit, I would say go for it. This is my first time having one, and I don't know what I don't know as far as comparing it to anything, so I can't say that. But what I will say is it's been working for me. So now when it comes to where I have the fluids dosing into the sump, I want to make sure I mention the Kalkwasser is going and routed into the high flow area between the refugium and the return section. Kind of a waterfall area right there, and that's the best place to kind of make sure this Kalkwasser is getting mixed up before it has a chance to make it up to the display. So very, very simple setup, and honestly, can't beat it. So as far as the purpose I needed it for, I did take advantage of all of the set points built into the unit. You have a maximum of 24 set points as far as dosing. Don't have to use them all. You can dose, 4 times a day if you want. You can set it to skip days. You can set it to dose once a week. You can set 2 heads to dose 4 times a day and then set another head to dose, once a month. I mean, you really have complete control over how you want it to dose. The interface is a little, I guess you want to say clunky, if you want to call it that, because you do have to manually go through and go to each set point and then tap it and then lock it in, go to the next one, and so on and so forth. But once again, once you get this thing set up, it just works. So for those who are curious, I currently have my Kalkwasser dosing 24 times a day, so once an hour. The last setting, I believe I have it at around 50 milliliters an hour, which helps keep my alkalinity pretty consistent between 8.6 and 9 DKH when I test it. So far, everything's working pretty good. Now, delivery to the tank handled by the Simply Aquatics dosing pump. But as far as storing the calcwasser, the concentrated solution that I want to dose, decided to go with one of the normal 5-gallon jugs off Amazon. Ended up picking up this jug because it fit the dimensions I needed to fit right behind where the auto top off reservoir is and the wall, to where I don't really have to see it looking at the tank, but I can get to it pretty easily. And it holds enough to last me around a week and a half at this point. And like I said, I'm only doing 50 milliliters an hour, but as the tank starts consuming, that's definitely going to go up and require me to have to do this more often. So once that time comes, probably going to make an investment into some kind of calc stair so that way I can avoid it. Now, I want to show you this really quick. This is kind of a push connect and acrylic rod setup that I added to the lid. So just drilled it. I believe it's 1/4 inch, and just kind of made my own little, you know, DIY reservoir, if you want to call it that. But we decided to go with the Calc 2 because it includes magnesium and other elements as well. So I figured if I'm going to dose something, I might as well do something that does all three: calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. So that way I don't have to worry about, having to add those individually later. And it's pretty simple. I'm just adding enough in here to get the maximum, or at least close to the maximum amount of solution for the calc. So that way, I'm starting off with the most potent mixture I can, and then I can kind of build from there instead of doing half a amount and having to increase it later. And then if I decide to change the concentration, having to adjust the dosing. Didn't want to do any of that. Let's start with the maximum power first, and get it all mixed up in the can with the power head, and just kind of let it do what it do. So that is going to be the setup, or at least my regimen for refilling the calc. Like I said, I've been doing this for over 2 months now at this point, and it's been working out pretty well. So, if you guys are curious about Kalkwasser, definitely something easy and quick to do, and just making sure that you keep it sealed, airtight, no chance for any oxygen or anything to get in here to affect the potency of it is definitely key. And then also keeping in mind the amount of evaporation on the tank, which on my system, I have plenty of room. It's roughly almost close to a gallon a day of evaporation. So I have plenty of opportunity when it comes to dosing this calc, and hopefully never have to really need anything else. When it comes to all the equipment on the tank, now that I have the adaptive reef control board on the left, displaying the apex and all the pumps and all the controllers to make sure they're working, I thought it makes sense to put the dosing, the auto top off units on the right side of the tank. So that way, I'm able to easily get a quick peek at it to see if the lights are on, if I hear the dosing pump go off in an hour, to make sure that it's actually moving. It gives me those visual clues that, everything is still working okay and everything is doing what it's supposed to do. So it doesn't look too bad either, honestly. Mounting it onto the wall worked out pretty good. Put it low enough to where you can't really see the cords from the front of the tank, but you can still get to everything just walking up to it on the side of the tank. So overall, can't complain, and everything is working pretty well. So, for those that were, curious about the dosing situation, hopefully that kind of explains a little bit as far as why I did it and how I'm doing it on the tank. And the great thing is, I still have 3 open heads on the dosing pump. If I decide to add more, maybe I want to add some uh, different chemicals, trace elements, maybe all for one reef if I have to supplement the calc with something else, or maybe amino acids if I decide to start doing that again, which I'm not right now because I'm fighting a different issue. But overall, it's gonna get the job done. So keeping this tank as simple as possible, water changes weekly, dosing calc, and just keeping things consistent, letting the water changes remove things that I don't know about, introduce things that I can't test for, and then letting the calc kind of keep the tank at a stable rate. So for those of y'all that were curious, we are still battling the Lingbaia bacterial issue on the tank. As you see that little flowy masses that looks like hair algae, that's the ugly, stinky stuff that you do not want in your system. This is pretty much the most difficult issue I've probably faced my time in the hobby. And I've fought all kinds of things, bryopsis and whatever else you can name it. I've had it. And this stuff just will not die easily, but we're going to keep fighting a good fight. Up until this point, I have not put my hands in the tank to scrape the back glass, to brush any rock work, or anything for any reason for over the last month, I just been dosing Microbacter 7 and Microbacter Clean in rotation every other week to try to outcompete and kind of combat this stuff on a bacterial level. And I'm probably gonna change it up a little bit and go for Microbacter Clean and Microbacter Razor to kind of help get this stuff out. So besides that, purchasing some kind of in-tank power filter is going to be the move. So that way, when I finally get in here and scrape this stuff out, I'm not solely relying on my filter socks to kind of remove it. I'm going to try to get it out of the display as quickly as possible. So for those that have any ideas as far as in-tank filters, drop a comment, give me an idea what I should go out and grab. Now, besides the, ugly brown back wall and the fuzziness on the rock work, that's right, I'm giving you guys the raw, uncut, exclusive, ugly stage of a reef tank, or ugly problem nonetheless. But I try to keep it real on this channel because I feel the more I share this, the more comments I'm getting from people who are saying, hey, I had that issue. I didn't even know what it was. Or, I had that issue and I beat it this way. And that information needs to get out into the hobby. And it takes people being honest and, forthright and open to sharing this ugliness of their tanks. So that way, it helps everyone. So I'm happy to be that guy, at least for now. I'm going to keep fighting a good fight. Honestly, guys, I feel like we're going to beat this. It's probably not going to happen quickly, but once it's done, we'll be able to look back on these updates and these videos and know, we survived, we made it through, and hopefully, educate someone and help someone later that comes later down the line, stumbles across these videos and knows that, they can actually beat it too. So other than that, everything else is looking pretty good on the tank. As far as every water change, corals are looking happier, looking a little fluffier, a little puffier. And as far as fish, all those guys are great. Cleanup crew, not so well. Snails are not really doing well in the tank. Probably gonna have to replace them, and I'm not gonna be able to replace them until I remove that, that bacterial issue on the rock work. I believe it has some toxicity to it that does not work well with cleanup crews. So for now, I'm not gonna keep investing in them. But I'm just kind of giving you guys an idea what the tank looks like today and give you guys an idea of how I'm dosing the tank. So hopefully that answered a lot of those questions for you guys. So I think that's pretty much all I really want to cover in this update. I'm not going to have it drag on too long. The whole point of this channel is document, guys. I know I take my time and make edited videos to try to make it entertaining, but at the heart of it, it's all about documenting my tank for myself. So that way I can look back 2 months from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now, and see how the tank's progressed, see how it's looking, and see the mistakes that I've made, or the things I've said, and the things I believed at that time, and just kind of grow in myself and just kind of share the journey with you all. So I think if more people do that, more focused on the documenting of their tanks, I think a lot more information will become available in the hobby, a lot easier for people to find on YouTube and different places. So, but at this point, hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, you can like, comment, subscribe. You guys keep doing what y'all do. Y'all be easy and happy reefing. Peace.